What's going on, guys? Bryn Welds here, and today I'm gonna just kind of do a sit-down video and talk to you guys about after welding school or straight out of high school, what do you do? Where do you go? What side of the industry? How do you know what you want to do for the rest of your life, maybe? This is a pretty common struggle. I feel like when I was leaving school, a lot of the kids didn't know what they wanted to do. I knew I wanted something quality over quantity. I wanted paid at least decent. I wanted to come home every day to the same house, and I wanted to work in a shop. I didn't want to work outside. So we're going to kind of talk about different routes that you could take and pros and cons to those routes. Why should you listen to me? You really don't have to. I'm not going to tell you, oh, I got this many years experience. I don't. Okay, I'm 19. I got 5 years experience. I apprenticed in high school. I started welding when I was 10. My dad was a welder. I've been around it my whole life. If you wanna listen to me, listen to me. If you don't, then don't. All right, that's fine. So say you just graduated high school, you did a couple welding schools, so say you just graduated high school or, I don't know, dropped out and you want to go straight into the industry. No college, no tech school, no trade school, none of that. You can kind of choose. First off, you have two main categories. Do you want to go union or non-union? Because the union, they'll send you to their own school and you'll be an apprentice and whatever. We don't have one in small town Nebraska. We don't have a union for any kind of welders. In Omaha, there is unions, which is a bigger town in Nebraska. Or you can go into a shop or maybe a construction company or maybe maintenance job just to dabble into welding a little bit. Some sort of maintenance job at a local plant. Like we have a meat packing plant here, and a lot of their maintenance crews' duties is to weld, and it's all sanitary. And then you also have to choose, do you want to go indoor or outdoor? Do you want to weld outside or do you want to weld inside? What's the seasons like around you? Winter in Nebraska gets pretty rough. Florida, maybe you could weld outside and be fine. You don't mind the heat, that's fine. I don't want to weld in the snow or any of that. If you choose indoor, I have little notes here. I'll pop it up on the screen actually. It's kind of like a bracket style thing I'm using to go from topic to topic. If you want to weld inside, you want to weld inside, you can go production, which is like a production line building parts for other companies such as, I don't know, you could go agricultural, make parts for tractors, or Kawasaki in Lincoln, Nebraska, Case New Holland in Grand Island, Nebraska. Production line, assembly stuff, quantity over quality, MIG welding. And when I apprenticed in high school, I was in production at Chief Fabrication in Grand Island, Nebraska, and I did that for 2.5 years. I did it in high school, and then when I went to community college, I still worked there because they were flexible with my hours, and so that just worked out. It didn't pay the best. It wasn't the most fun. I didn't love it. I could see myself moving up in that company, but I didn't want to weld for the rest of my life, and quantity over quality was what really bugged me the most. You have to decide, do you want to take pride in your work, or do you want to have somebody over your shoulder saying, push these out, 40, 400, 90, 80, whatever. They want so many parts per hour, and not as much about quality. Maybe a little bit, it's probably about 30% quality and 70% quantity. That's kind of how it is in production line, in that setting. You could go custom fabrication if you have that near you, which is a little more one-offs, not as much production, not as much monotony in your job, not as monotonous, and it would probably pay a little better, be some MIG, some TIG, depending on the shop, I guess, some stick as well. If you have to install it or something like that, then you would have a little bit of indoor and outdoor. Custom fabrication would be, I think, pretty fun if they just give you a drawing and you make that come to life with, I think it'd be fun. Probably pay a little bit better than production, but still it might not be the money job that you would want, maybe like a pipeliner. Let's talk about pipelining. Actually, we'll stay in the indoor side real fast. You could do art, which could also fall into that custom fabrication. You could do art on the side in the beginning while you're working your production job, and maybe that you'd find out that's what you love and you want to do that full time. Work towards getting your art out there full time. There's a ton of metal artists, Ray Ripple, cold hard metal art. Johnny S. Weld does a lot of art, my good buddy. And if you're in the production setting, you want to choose, do you want to do production TIG or MIG? TIG could be anything from motorsports, which would be awesome, and like I thought that was what I wanted to do for sure, motorsports. When I saw Austin Hill and Johnny Dabbs, I saw what they were doing, and I was like, man, this looks so fun, quality, just insane artwork, really, it's art. And then after looking into it, I figured, you know, I'm not passionate about motorsports. And that's what helped me realize I wanted a job that was quality instead of quantity. That's what I liked about the motorsports side of TIG welding and that side of the industry, was the quality over quantity. And also in TIG, you can take the sanitary route, food grade stuff, you know. I guess that meat packing plant's all sanitary, so if you could find any kind of food industry plant, I'm sure their maintenance is TIG welding to sanitary standards all the time. And you can find production TIG as well. I don't really know what they do. I'm sure it's a lot of everything. Production is usually a lot of everything, and production TIG. But that's also going to be that quantity over quality. Probably a little more quality, but not as much, and the pay would be better than normal MIG production. And MIG production is rough. You're going to work long hours in the same spot, doing the same thing with the same people every day, and if the management's not good, then you're really not going to be happy. The pay is not going to be very good. That's probably the lower end of the industry, is production MIG work. So let's switch over to the outside. What you're going to weld outside if you wanted to do that instead of indoors. You can go, this is a really popular one, pipeliner. You can go iron worker, and you can go refinery or plant welder or repair welder. So let's talk about that. So everybody wants to pipeline, all right? You see it, Western Welding Academy, I don't even know. All these schools are pushing pipeliners, which I'm not going to talk about any schools because I don't know them for a fact, all right? If I had to choose one, I would choose Precision Welding Academy. It just seems the best. Off of what I've seen, which is very little, I think Precision Welding Academy is probably the one that I would choose. So let's go. Let me talk about the pros of pipelining. You're going to make good money. You're probably going to enjoy it. You're going to get to see the world, maybe. I mean, you're going to work, what, 10 hours a day? So how much are you really going to be able to see the world? You'll get per diem pay and a lot of benefits. You're going to learn a lot. Pipeliners are some of the most skilled in the industry. I talk to a lot of people at pipeline, and I'll ask them questions, or a lot of the first people I would go to if I had a question are pipeliners. You're going to make good money, you're going to see the world, you're going to meet a lot of cool people, maybe have a nice truck, a nice rig, but that's also a con. So if you want to get straight into pipelining right out of high school, you don't want to be a helper, which is pretty unrealistic unless maybe you know somebody or some sort of connection that you have to get you in the industry. You're probably going to start out as a helper or a hand or a fire watch or something like that. But if you don't, and you get straight in as a welder or a bead hand or something like that, I don't really know all the technical terms. You got to think, if you want your own rig, then that's maybe, I don't know, what are you going to pay for a truck? If you want a nice truck, you're going to pay 60 grand. If you want a 2,500 or something, then you need a welder. How much is a SA200. I don't know, that's an old used one, but if you want a new one or something like that, then you're gonna throw another, I don't know, 10 grand on it. Then you got all your tools. You gotta chop your bed, get a flatbed, toolboxes in there, all that cool stuff. Maybe a vise coming out the back. So you have your nice truck. You got these big old wheels. You got this slick rig. You're in maybe 100 grand, maybe a little lower. I'm not too sure. Then you need somewhere to stay. You don't want to, you know, are you going to stay in hotels the whole time? I bet that would probably add up unless maybe the companies pay for it. You need a camper. Okay, you got to buy a camper. You want to live in a piece of shit camper on the road by yourself? No, you probably want a pretty decent camper. I'm sure there is guys that start out with lower end trucks and eventually work their way up and get nicer campers and all that. But you probably don't want to do that. You probably want the nice stuff and just relax, come home after work, 14-hour day or whatever, sleep good. Okay. So now you're already in, I don't know, 200,000 on the high end maybe. So this is a lot of upfront investment. And then you have to think about, well, who's going to put money in my 401k? I got to open my 401k, my retirement plan. You got health insurance. You need to get life insurance, dental, vision, I don't know, all that good stuff. Insurance that as a 1099 employee, the company is not going to pay for it because as a 1099, you're a contractor. You're contracted to do that work, so they're not going to supply your benefits. You got to supply your own. And you also got to withhold, I don't know, 30% to be safe, 30% of your income towards the end of the year, and save it for taxes. That sucks. Okay, it's not like a W-2 or a W-9 or whatever where they take that tax money out right at that time. Okay, you got to withhold that on your own and be financially responsible to withhold your own money and keep that money stashed away because you know you got to pay it back to the government. You know, Uncle Sam wants his money at the end of the year. So there's a lot of upfront cost and cons to pipelining, but the pay is great. You might love it. You love stick welding? All right, go do it. You know, there's flux core. They got TIG as well in those refineries and plant jobs, which I also, again, I don't know much about. I don't think you have to supply your own welder for refineries and plant jobs. I don't think you need your own rig, but I'm not 100% sure on shutdowns and all that. But that's another job where you're on the road. You'll probably need a camper or a hotel, I guess, maybe. And it would be rough. You know, can you start a family there? Are you going to meet the love of your life and she's going to travel with you right away? Maybe not. Okay. So then another option, outdoors, which I don't think every iron worker is union. I'm not too sure because I don't live in a huge town. Okay, we don't have unions here. If you want to be an iron worker, you know, all respect to them, you know, they're doing stuff I wouldn't do. I wouldn't climb on a goddamn fucking 40-story building or whatever and weld and bolt. But the thing about iron workers is you're not always going to weld. It's a lot of bolting up, you know, a lot of bolt-ons. You're going to bolt together. I'm sure there is a pretty good amount of welding, but not as much. And do you want to risk your life up there? No, I don't, but they make pretty good money. All these outdoor jobs, you'll notice, have one thing in common, and that's the money. Okay, that's why people do it. A lot of people love that road life, but you have to love the long hours and the rough days. As anybody in a blue-collar industry, you have to love it. You have to learn to love it. Okay, it's not going to be easy. Even, like, I work 14 hours in a shop, and you just have to learn to love it. Okay, I don't compare myself to a pipeliner because I'm not on the road. I get to come home and see my family and my friends every day. But that's something that you need to take into account. Your quality of life, or would you rather have the pay? And your benefits, you have to pay for your own. When you really think about those outdoor jobs, maybe not iron worker, but a pipeliner or a shutdown chaser or something like that, you have to think, you're making all this money, but then you invested all that, so you got to pay that off, which it will pay for itself over time. But you have to think, well, how much money am I really making if I'm saving 30% for taxes at the end of the year and I'm paying for my own benefits? Take that into account. You might end up making more or taking home more in a shop in your hometown around all your family. So that's just something to think about. And hopefully this helps anybody coming out of school, or look, they think they want to be a welder, but maybe what side of the industry do you want to do? What process do you like the most? MIG, TIG, stick, oxyacetylene, whatever, you know. It's just, there's a lot to think about, and I hope this video kind of helped give you some answers, because it's something I was thinking about a year ago when I was graduating from community college. Hopefully this helped. My name is Bryn Welds. Follow me on everything at Bryn Welds, BRYNWELDS.